Are you thinking about buying or selling a home, or just want to know what might be going on with one of your biggest investments? Then come hang out with us for a little while. Hi, I'm Kirk Duckwall, and welcome to the Twin Cities Real Estate Show. We are sponsored by BRIX Real Estate, Network Title, Eric Bloomstrand and Chad Priebe with Bell Bank Mortgage, James Tolson with Country Financial, Structure Tech Home Inspections, Cregan's Construction, and Gray Duck Staging and Design. So today, I have in studio with us, as always, Chad Priebe. Thank you for coming in. And Ryan Blanchard. Did I pronounce that last name correct?
You did.
All right. I'm terrible with last names, unless it's like Smith or something like that.
John Doe.
John Doe. Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
So today we're going to be talking about home selling myths. And our smart seller guide that we have at TwinCitiesRealEstateShow.com dispels a lot of these myths as well, because, there's just things that were done previously going back decades that have made their way forward. And the industry has changed a ton over time, and how marketing is done now in comparison to how it was done a long time ago, or pricing properties and how that was done. Things have evolved over time. I mean, it's amazing how much our business just transforms over the course of a year. And how things, and we were just talking about before the show, how the coming soon listing is just so vitally important in marketing a property now, when you go back just a couple years and it wasn't really even around. Mm-hmm. So today we're going to be kind of breaking down some of those myths. If you want to follow up and check out some more interesting info on these, you can download that Smart Seller Guide, and that's at TwinCitiesRealEstateShow.com. As always, if you have any real estate questions or any real estate needs you need assistance with, you can give us a call directly, 651-303-0019. Again, 651-303-0019. So, yeah, I love the myth busting on this, because I mean we hear them, like you were cranking them out left and right as we were getting ready for the show today.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, there is, and I think the longer somebody might be in a house, the more things may come and go as to the way homes have been sold, and these myths prevail over time. Mm-hmm. So,
right.
The first one, we're going to kind of break this down as to how somebody might go through like the selling process, right, and some of the different thoughts that come up. And right out of the gate, I know one of the questions that we get right away, and I think even one of the commercials that we do on the station talks about this, which is, what is your commission? Right? Mm-hmm. Commission comes up right away, and understandably so. Of course, you want to know how much you're paying for the product that you're getting.
Right.
Right? But I think it's important to understand paying for the product you're getting. Mm-hmm. A Kia is not a Ferrari, right? You're going to pay more for that high-end, well-crafted machine, right, that has that great resale value to it.
Right.
Again, a value to it.
Right.
So, real estate agents, they're not the same as far as what they can get somebody as to a net result in their home. And we'll talk about some of these other myths here in a little bit. But, it's a common misconception that the less commission that you pay, the more that you will save.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big one.
But, I mean, how often do we hop online and see the poor quality marketing offered by these, discount brokerages?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. What is being offered out there, And do they have the knowledge as to how to price perfectly? I mean, you mentioned, as we were just getting ready to record, that a home in your neighborhood where they priced it upwards of, what was it, $375?
Yeah, these folks, and I feel bad for them just because it's been on the market now over 30 days, but
which is a long time in today's market.
In today's market, it is a long time. But she specifically asked me, because I know her, we're neighbors, and being in the loan business, the mortgage business, she asked me, strategy. Mm-hmm. And like I told her, I said, I'm not a licensed realtor, but I will tell you the market is slowing down due to the seasonal market.
Yep.
And you may want to reconsider going in or off, selling your house at the high end because there's not as many showings. There's not as much activity out there. Well, they listed at the high end to now they went at 375. They're now down to 325.
Right.
And it's still sitting empty. So
It's a $50,000 spread.
it's a huge spread. And unfortunately for them, they had already been under contract on the purchase side of a new property.
Right.
So I'm thinking they're coming up on 2 mortgage payments now. And I think if they would have put together a better strategy, this would not be the ending result.
Right, and that's part of the services that somebody's getting when they hire a full service professional full-time real estate agent. Right. That it's the negotiation strategy, it's the pricing strategy, it's the timing strategy that you're paying for.
Right.
Right. I think some of these discount brokerages or any inexperienced agent for that matter could be, they take the listing, the seller feels like they're saving money but on the commission, the net, what they're walking away with, but the realtor puts it on the MLS, the multiple listing service, and that's it.
Right.
That's all they're really doing.
Well, and that's the tip of an iceberg to a good marketing campaign, but I think, or maybe the bottom of the iceberg, maybe I should say on that is people are like, oh, all I need to do is get it on the MLS. Well, no, it's how are you driving people into that listing? What is your strategy, right? Because I call it telling the story. What is it that you're building up to get them into the home?
Right.
It doesn't stop with the MLS. There's a whole, and then that again, that's staging services. That's something when you really break down, when you hire that discount firm, are you getting professional photography? Are you getting staging? Are you getting somebody who knows the market, knows that you need to price correctly to make sure that you can net the most? And this is why we see an experienced listing agent is going to get typically 7 to 14% more, depending on market conditions, on a price per square foot basis for a property. And this is one I know we've talked about when we were just on the radio. Yeah. And I challenge anybody, if you want to give me an area and you want me to show you this data of what these discount firms net their clients typically, but yeah, 7 to 14% more when you get that full service, that experience there. So no, the data doesn't back up less commission means more money in your pocket. It is actually a net negative over what somebody who really provides. It just makes sense.
That's a lot of money.
Right. I mean, an example that I give is if you price, you have a car for sale and you just park it out in your driveway and put a for sale sign in the window, are you going to get as much interest or offers as if you took good pictures of the car, put together a good description, ran ads on Facebook, got it out there on Car Trader, right? What's going to, the answer, right? Yep. You're going to get more. So, that's a big one. Another one, updates aren't necessary, especially in this fast-moving market.
Right.
Right. You don't need to do it, right? Just the house will sell itself. Just put it out there.
Sellers think anything will sell in this market. No effort put in, which is not the truth.
Yeah. Well, it may sell, but
for how much? Right?
Yeah, for how much?
Netting.
Yeah.
And I think going back to picking an agent, there's this idea that if a real estate agent sells the home, they did their job. Well, selling the home, that's the easy part.
Yeah.
It's getting that maximum price.
Right.
And part of that is preparation. Now, if you are fully understanding, like, hey, I don't want to do anything, nothing. I just don't want to. Even if it costs me $25,000, $50,000 on the sale price, I don't want to do it. Okay, then we have a mutual understanding that you know what the outcome may be if you put that as-is tag on the property. Right? But if you do want to make that extra 20 to 50K, and we're not saying put on decks or replace the kitchen, and that's the thing, is a lot of people think when they think updates, that's what they have to do. No, most of the time it's replacing carpet or painting some walls.
Correct.
Or
Painting carpet, front door.
Yeah.
Small cosmetic changes that could be, sub $1,000, sub $2,000.
Well, even
big
the
difference.
Yeah, right. Even when someone comes in and stages your house.
Right.
There is a cost to that, but the return on that
Yeah,
I
that's
gotta
4 to 6% just on
Is it?
staging.
Okay,
4 to 6%.
that's huge money to have someone come in and do that, and that's minimal work on your side.
Yeah,
as
and
the seller.
I had somebody bring this up to me in a listing appointment a couple weeks ago. They said, well, I've heard that empty rooms are better. And staging is not really so much for when the person is in your house. And this goes back to the way things were to the way things are. When you look at old listings going back to the early 90s, it was one picture of the outside and specifications of the home and a price and maybe a short description. That was it.
Yeah.
In that scenario, staging wasn't as important because they got into the house, they knew the perspective of the room because they're in that room.
Right.
The problem is when you're looking at homes online, that you can't tell that size. And it's amazing how many people won't pull out a tape measure to get an idea of what a room size might be if they see it online. So they're purely using the photography to make their judgment of that room size.
Right.
And so staging, it's kind of funny because a room that is empty will feel small in online.
Right.
And then a room that has way too much in it is going to feel small online. So there's this happy medium that a professional stager will know.
Right.
Well, we got a commercial break coming up here in a few seconds. When we come back, man, we have more myths than this might need to be a two-part show. I'm thinking.
Too many to talk about,
Yeah. Again, if you want to check out our past shows or see our market updates, where the market's at right now, check out that TwinCitiesRealEstateShow.com. Again, TwinCitiesRealEstateShow.com. Also, you can find our great free publications, The Smart Home Buyer, The Smart Seller, and the BRIX Report. They're free. There's no registration involved. You can hop on there, get these free PDF books and guides ready for you. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Ruben with Structure Tech Home Inspections. Everyone knows you should have a home inspection before you buy a home, but we've heard of home buyers being encouraged to skip the home inspection in this crazy market to make their purchase offer more attractive. Now they're facing tens of thousands of dollars in unexpected repairs. I'm telling you now, don't skip the home inspection. Here at Structure Tech, we can get your home inspected quickly, and we offer a full line of services. Visit us online at structuretech.com to learn more.
Clickbait. There is no such thing as today's rate. Mortgages and mortgage rates are individual to you. Chad Priebe and Eric Bloomstrand with Bell Bank Mortgage are here to show you the formula to get your best rate. Once you know this formula, you can mortgage shop with confidence. Find us online at chadpriebe.com. That is chadpriebe.com. NMLS 1462493, Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC.
Hi, I'm Kirk Duckwall with BRIX Real Estate and the Twin Cities Real Estate Show. Buying or selling a home is one of the biggest financial transactions people make. Before you make your next move, download our free Smart Home Buyer or Smart Seller guides to give you the edge in our real estate market. From deal hunting to knowing the right repairs for maximizing value, these free guides have it all. Check them out and more at BRIXTwinCities.com under publications.
Not every title company is the same. There are many people involved with each real estate transaction, and all of them need to be in the loop or a closing may get delayed. This is why the people at Network Title strive to provide swift scheduling and communication between the buyers, sellers, agents, and lenders. We know moving can be stressful, however, your closing does not need to be. Check us out online at network-title.com.
Welcome back to the Twin Cities Real Estate Show. Yeah, I want to start right off with, we're talking today about real estate myths, right? And the one I want to address, and we mentioned at the beginning of the show, kind of that the market may be slower right now. And so right now, our market meter, it's really kind of just hanging right on the edge of still a seller's market.
Okay.
I think it's at a 6.39, if I remember correctly. And anything below a 6 is into a balanced market range. But when I did the market update this week, that you can find at TwinCitiesRealEstateShow.com, I had mentioned that it really depends on the sector that you're in, the price point, the area, and all of that. And that's why, again, it's so important to make sure you hire somebody who really knows what's going on with the pace of the market. Because if you misprice a property for the market, you might miss out on that, $25,000 or $50,000 that could be sitting on the table.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I personally myself have been seeing, well-staged, well-priced homes still selling, multiple offers.
Absolutely.
You hear it slowing down, but there's still plenty of properties out there
For sure.
selling multiple offers.
depends on the location, depends
Right.
on the price point, depends on the property type. All of that plays into it. For example, right now, if you're in a suburb or a majority of the suburbs and you're priced between 200 and 400K, yeah, you're still, as long as you're being presented nicely, that you have that professional photography and staging, yeah, you're going to sell in multiple offers.
Right.
But again, pricing it right. Okay, and that's another myth, right? That list price is an accurate reflection of value.
Yeah.
We know this isn't true. If you, as the viewer, if you just look around at what a house lists for in comparison to what it sells for, we know this is not the case, right?
Right.
That very few homes at the end of the day actually sell for exactly at list price. And even the ones that do, maybe there's seller contributions that are rolled into that. So what I say is, list price can either be a strategy or it can be a mistake.
Right.
Which do you want?
Even
right?
if it's a flipped market, right? Even if it's a buyer's market, list price is still list price. It's
Right.
It's a strategy.
Yep.
Right? So that's where, this just came to thought, is when you're hiring your team, if you're out there in the market to buy a house, when you're doing your interviews with your realtors and your loan officers and people that are going to represent you in this process, make sure you do your homework. Whether it's a seller's market or a buyer's market, these numbers are all strategy. And when you hire the right representation, they're going to know that, and they're going to lead you in the right direction and make you more successful. When we talk about less commission agents and this and that, like Kirk mentioned earlier, make sure they're offering you a package that's going to do the right thing for you, right? And that's make you the most money.
Well, depends.
Depends.
Some people, it's, well, how do I get through this in the time frame that I want?
Different
Right.
scenarios,
But
correct.
that also, you can leave all of it on the table, and there is a timing to putting together that pricing.
Right.
I remember at one time I had a gentleman, and it was his goal was, well, if I can get this price, I'm willing to sell during this time. If I can get this price, I'm actually willing to wait a little longer, which was a lower price, right? And so we came up with that strategy, that time to come on to the market, because it was just a convenience thing for him. So, which leads right into kind of our next myth, right? Pricing a property higher will net you more money. That's one thing you came up with there.
Yeah, I think a belief when I'm talking to sellers is, I pitch it as, hey, you kind of have three strategies. You can price it under what I feel is market value, drive the most traffic to the property. That's anywhere 2 to 3% under market value. You could price it right at market value, or you could price it over. And where do you want to be to get the most amount of traction? You want to be slightly under what we call the market value. And a lot of sellers, the perception is, well, if we price it high and someone comes in 10K lower, well, we have that wiggle room, but how much traffic are you really driving if you're overpricing the property?
Right.
Yeah, good point.
Well, and we know that a home that sits on the market, basically for every day it's on, it goes down 0.1% on a price per square foot basis. This was done from a data set of 5,000 homes in our area, looking at homes that were on the market 1 day versus 2 versus 3, 4, 5, going all the way out to 90 days. And you could see that price per square foot peeling back as that time. Right? And that doesn't seem like a lot, 0.1%, but every 10 days, that's 1%. Right? On a $300,000 house, that's $3,000 less
$3,000
that
every
you're going to
10
get.
days.
Right?
Right.
And you might as well move right into the next one by accepting an offer for less, or accepting an offer quickly, you may be accepting an offer for less, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a common misperception too. The first offer is typically some of your best offers. not always the case, but I think you have the very motivated buyers out there searching aggressively, so they see your house hit the market, they have an offer on it right away. It typically tends to be one of the best offers with a very motivated buyer in that situation.
Well, I think coming soon plays directly into this as like, there was a reasoning behind, okay, well, we just came to market on Friday or Saturday. Why is it we would want to accept an offer on Sunday? Well, if that property had no previous marketing to it, yeah, maybe you do at that time wanted to give it a little more time on market to get people to see it. But I think with coming soon, you're advertising it a week in advance. People know your house is coming if they are truly motivated and interested. They're going to get into that property.
Yeah, I think coming soon is huge, and if you have the time to do it, you definitely should be doing it at least 3 days to a week.
Yeah,
coming soon time frame.
I'm starting to see the open houses pop back up.
Yeah, I was going to mention open houses. A lot of the reason they weren't around for about a year was because of COVID.
Yeah.
But there's also the right way, in my opinion, to do an open and the wrong way. If you're coming to market on a Friday or Saturday, I'm of the mindset to not do an open house that very first weekend because you're already going to have, if done correctly, a lot of traffic. And I think would you agree that a actual showing is better than somebody walking through the open?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think people prefer to have a private showing if they can, as opposed to being in an open house with
lots of people.
10 other people in a busy house. There is a stat too that less than 5% of homes are sold via open houses. So it's typically in the past been more for agents to attract new buyers as opposed to the agent actually selling the house to a proposed buyer.
I think it can be leveraged though, because of that perception. And I mean, when you were out there shopping, Chad, right? You see that open house. Oh, we want to get in before the open, right? That you can use it as leverage as a seller to drive people to get into that home. I typically like to put the house on, on a Friday or Saturday, something like that, and then the open house would be that following Sunday. Then people see that they want to get in that first week, right? And so that way, the open, yes, it may pick up a few extra people, but it's not the primary method of showing the property.
Right.
And you mentioned that stat, less than 5% of homes.
Yep.
You go a few years back, it was 1%.
Really?
Less than 1% of homes would sell. I think COVID though did shift things a bit, and as market times became shorter and shorter, more and more people were going to those open houses.
Yeah. And like you said, I think the perception, if you see 10 people in there, it creates some urgency. Like, oh, I need to offer on this house now, or it's going to be gone.
Right. Well, and excuse me, isn't there such thing as like a bait offer? You don't want to be that bait offer if you're a buyer, because that gives the seller maybe some more leverage to use with that multiple offer language.
Well, yeah. So
I
mean, for buyers out there, you want to know, again, you want to know the stats of what's going on with the house or a neighborhood and the speed of the market. And yeah, you don't want to make an offer or accept an offer necessarily that is a bait offer or could be leveraged in that way. I know, again, that was something we were discussing when we had your home for sale was the different offers and how they could be leveraged, right?
Yeah.
And goes back to that when hiring a professional real estate agent, they're going to know how to look at an offer, look at the situation, look at the upcoming showings, and make sure that they're connecting with any interested party to make sure that if there's another offer to be had, that it's coming in and leverage them to net the most money at the end of the day.
Yeah, when my wife and I were out looking, it was eye-opening to me that when we walked in the door of some of these houses, an open house, that the listing agent was right there at the front door saying, hey, we have multiple offers.
Yeah.
Before I could even get my shoe off, I'm having an agent telling me there's multiple offers. So right away, that turned me off right away. Because I'm thinking, all they want to do is just sell the house. They want the highest and best offer now.
Well, that's how, you know, a lot of sellers will be like, hey, are you going to tell everybody else that you know, there's an offer? And it's like, well, we'll do a notification through showing time, but there's no need to be scaring everybody and just cancel the showing.
Yeah, I've seen that happen where, you know, an announcement goes out and then you have a bunch of showings canceling people that might have actually been interested. And
you want to get people into the home and interested.
Right.
Again, it goes back to telling that story. Well, if you can't complete the story, which is getting them into the house, how are you supposed to get as many offers as possible? You know, one last thing I want to just touch on as a myth is these automated evaluations that people see out there, or county assessed evaluations, as being an accurate value of your home. I mean, this is a stat you can look up yourself. Let's say you're looking at the Zillow's estimate. Even on their website for the Minneapolis-St. Paul area for off-market properties, they are only correct within 5% value 46% of the time. The way I like to put that is the weatherman has better odds on that. A good real estate agent is going to be 85% plus. I know I track the stats of where I've listed at. I'm at 96% within 5%. So, you know, if you want that free evaluation, feel free. You can always reach out 651-303-0019 or at TwinCitiesRealEstateShow.com. Always happy to help answer any of your real estate questions. Thanks again, guys, for coming in. And we got definitely enough for another show someday.
Sounds good.
Take care.
My name is James Tobson with Country Financial. Anyone can sell you insurance. However, is it going to be the insurance you need? When life pops up with its surprises, you want the right coverage. When it comes time to find or renew your policy, give me a call. I would love to review your existing policy and show you what I can do for you. You can email me at james.tobson@countryfinancial.com or give me a call at 651-365-3408.
Not every title company is the same. There are many people involved with each real estate transaction, and all of them need to be in the loop or a closing may get delayed. This is why the people at Network Title strive to provide swift scheduling and communication between the buyers, sellers, agents, and lenders. We know moving can be stressful, however, your closing does not need to be. Check us out online at network-title.com.
People always ask realtors, what is your commission? But what they should be asking is, what is your rate of return? Commissions only vary by a couple of % from agent to agent. However, the price per square foot you get just based on their experience and the quality of marketing they use can vary by 10% or more. At BRIX Real Estate, our agents use the right marketing and have the experience to get you top dollar for your house. See what we can do for you at BRIXTwinCities.com.
Hi, I'm Becca, owner of Grey Duck Staging. With today's home buyers beginning their journey exclusively online, the look and feel of your home matters more than ever. Whether it's a simple in-home consultation, a refresh using your current furniture, or a whole home staging, our goal is always the same: showing your home in the best light and helping you achieve the highest sales price possible. To learn more, visit us at greyduckstaging.com or check us out on Instagram at greyduckstaging.